What up, world? Established Rich coming right back at you. After watching Mob James turn that witness stand into a street performance, Suge Knight came out and said what a lot of people have been thinking for years. Mob James may have been around Death Row, but being around Death Row and actually working for Death Row are two different things.
Ask you this, then I'm not going to speak on Orlando. Let me ask you something about yourself. There was a rumor that Tupac had knocked you out one time.
I'd have killed him.
That would have been your response if that happened.
Yeah, I'm being honest with you and everybody else. I said it on my podcast show. Him, Suge, and my brother. I'd have shot all three of them if he touched me.
Why
That's how I was living.
Why is that?
That's what I was back then.
And so, is it fair to say that your reputation and your standing in the neighborhood would require you to do something if you're going to get punked by somebody like Tupac?
You don't have a choice, or you can't be there.
I'm sorry.
So on the night of the murder, you were working as the head of security for 662.
Yes.
Explain for us a little bit about the club. Was that Suge's club or was it somebody else's club?
Suge, to my understanding.
Okay. And
do I answer this?
That's a straightforward question. It's a yes or no answer.
Did
you see that?
When I was a part of that life, I was a part of that. And I was, no, because you asking something that's going to hurt this dude. And okay, let me stop.
Information that said that guy, as a bunch of other people, were involved in what?
In the murder of Tupac.
Okay, but my question to you.
Stop.
What the hell was that? Mob James came into court saying he didn't want to help send another black man to jail. I can respect that part. But all that yelling, pointing, trying to remind everybody how tough you used to be, you can cut that out. You have spent years on podcasts talking about Suge, Tupac, Death Row, Snoop, Ma Pyru, and everybody else's business. But when the same stories move from a podcast room to a courtroom, now you don't want to talk. That's the part I don't understand. You can't make a career out of 30-year-old street stories, then act offended when the court asks you about them same 30-year-old street stories. And Mob James saying his younger self would have took Tupac out, Suge out, and even his own brother if Tupac had put his hands on him. They ain't make you look tough either, bro. It looked like he was auditioning for a reputation he should have outgrown years ago. Suge Knight saw that performance and immediately went after his credibility.
And you were kind of grousing about people who were testifying that aren't telling the real story. Would you explain to our viewers, please?
Oh, first of all, my opinion, Tupac was the most incredible person you can have as a friend, as a brother, and still today, his morals. Number one, all these guys perjured themselves on the oath. Number one, James never worked for me, never was head of security for me, and I can see he's a little bitter because Tupac put him on his pockets before. But the most important thing to this is that they're not coming in to get the truth. Everybody knows he's an FBI informant. Everybody knows he's a rat. So why we got to act like he's going to tell the truth on Keefe D and James?
Now with Keefe D, we know he talked to law enforcement. The jury heard his 2008 recorded interview where he discussed who was inside the Cadillac and identified his own cousin, Orlando Anderson, as the shooter. Whatever name somebody wants to put on it, the conversation is documented. You can't find any documentation proving that Mob James was a federal informant. That is Suge Knight's allegation, not a confirmed fact. And honestly, Mob James didn't look eager to help the prosecution anyway. He was ducking questions, refusing to identify people, and repeating that he didn't want to send Keefe to prison. So I'm not going to call him an informant without receipts. But Mob James does have a credibility problem. He wants to be the man who knows everything when the podcast mic is on. Then when the camera belongs to a courtroom, suddenly he don't know nothing and he don't want to be involved. You can't sell the story and then hide from the questions. But Suge's strongest point wasn't the informant claim. It was what he said about Mob James' actual position at Death Row.
So, hold on. You're saying that James McDonald, the guy who testified, said that he worked for Death Row Records, talked about what he saw that night. You're saying he did not work for you at all?
No. Now, he might have been at the club hanging out trying to hustle people and not putting the guy down or nothing like that, but he's an informant. He didn't work for me. If he would worked for me, he would have had a death row chain. He would have had a ring. You would have seen him in pictures around us hanging out. No.
This part I believe. Mob James was around death row. He was connected to Mob Pyru, and he may have provided security or muscle around Club 662. But being around the operation don't mean you ran the operation. Suge said if Mob James really worked for him, he would have had a death row chain, rings, a check, or something showing he was officially part of the company. And that is a fair question. Death Row was photographed everywhere. But somehow, the supposed head of security made it through the entire Death Row era without leaving much evidence that he ever held that title. I ain't buying it. I think Suge probably let Mob James hang around and do what he does best. Intimidate people out of money, providing muscle, and helping maintain that Death Row atmosphere. Mob James has admitted that his younger self was violent, but he was muscle, not management. He was around the business. That don't mean he was handling business. And over the years, I think Mob James has moved himself closer and closer and closer to the Death Row story. Suge Knight was actually there. So when he says Mob James was never his head of security, that carries weight. Then Suge turned his attention toward Universal in the movie they're about to make on Snoop Dogg.
One other thing that's very important. It's time for a change. You have people who've been talking to me like Universal for doing a movie or documentary to get all the information from my side, because I am Death Row, to talk about Death Row. Now they want to do with Snoopy, which I'm going to sue the shit out of him, because you have a lawyer that David Kenner gave all my files to and gave it to him to use my stuff. So it's very important that people always, these guys at Universal who's trying to do these things at one-on-one, stop making people deal with street justice. We should be grown enough to deal with regular justice.
So wait, are you saying you're going to sue? You're going to sue Universal? Or you're going to sue Snoop?
Well, Snoop is nobody, but I'm going to sue Universal for taking my personal stuff. That's like when you look at it, Harvey. How is it every company that's way worse than the Death Row catalog sells for $300 million, $400 million? They offer me $700 million, but then they go and get it for $25 million. The same people who did the default judgment against me. It's crazy.
Suge said Snoop ain't even his real target. He says he plans to go after Universal for using his personal story. And let's keep it real. You can't tell Snoop Dogg's story without Suge Knight. You can make Snoop the hero and Suge the villain, but you cannot remove Suge from the story without removing the label that launched Snoop's career. The movie is being produced through Death Row and Universal. So we already know Snoop will have more control over the script than Suge does. But here's what Suge needs to remember. The last time he felt a major movie was using his story without properly compensating him for it, it was Straight Outta Compton, remember? A confrontation connected to that production ended in the parking lot of Tam's Burgers. Suge ran over Claiborne Sloan and Terry Carter. Carter lost his life, and Suge later pled no contest to voluntary manslaughter.
For the crime which the defendant has been convicted in count 1, a violation of Penal Code Section 192, Subdivision A, voluntary manslaughter, with the strike prior conviction having been found true, defendant is sentenced to state prison for the high term. The reason for the high term is as a condition of the plea bargain. The high term is 11 years and must be doubled under the strike law. Defendant is levied a term in state prison of 22 years. Pursuant to Penal Code Section 12022, Subdivision B, Subdivision 1, he is levied an additional consecutive 1 year in state prison. Pursuant to Penal Code Section 667, Subdivision A, Subdivision 1, the prior conviction the defendant has admitted, he is levied an additional 5 years in state prison for a total unstayed term of 28 years.
This time, the defendant is ordered transferred to Department 120 to have a dismissal on the other matter, which is part of the plea bargain. If there's nothing further, that'll be it. Thank you. Thank you.
That is why he's serving those 28 years right now. So if Suge believes Universal owes him money, let the lawyers handle it. The last movie dispute cost him his freedom. This one don't need to cost him anything else. Now let's move to MasterP, because he recently sat down with Forbes and made some comments about black ownership that sound completely disconnected from what is happening right now.
We don't own our own tennis shoe. When Nike started out of their garage, like Phil Knight started out of his garage. And I tell people all the time, look, it's not about a color. Like, think about it. Even though when I help black-owned business, I'm doing that because we at the bottom of the totem pole. But we want to create product for everybody. This product is for everybody, blacks, white, Asian, Latino. But it don't have too many black-owned companies. Like, show me how many black-owned tennis shoe companies out there that's making functional shoes that actually own it.
What's been the biggest surprise of the stardom? I mean, you've been in this game for a very, very long time. What's been the biggest surprise about it all?
Our own culture don't believe that we could do it. You know, because they just don't get it. They're like, how you could do this? I mean, like, if I could do it, anybody could do it. You don't have to be the smartest person in the world. You don't have to be a rocket scientist. You just got to have integrity and do good business. And these doors will open up for you, building great relationships. And I think that's the biggest thing for me, trying to get that negative mindset out of our culture, because they still going back to, oh man, slavery, they did us this. And I'm like, you still harping on that, man. I never harped on that.
Master P, you got to get on social media, bro. I'm in Atlanta. Walk through the mall. Black people are selling shoes, shirts, clothes, hats, jewelry, and everything else you can think of. No, they not all on Nike level. They don't have the national distribution or millions of dollars in inventory, but that doesn't mean they don't exist. Master P is looking for one giant black-owned shoe company while stepping over thousands of black-owned brands that's being built from their phone. If his point is that we need more black companies operating on a global scale, I agree with that. But say that. Don't erase the young people building just because their companies haven't reached your level yet. Then he started talking about integrity and building relationships so you can get into these buildings. Master P knows access matters. He paid Michael Jackson's attorney $25,000 to learn how major music deals worked. That information helped him understand the distribution that led to his deal with Priority. That wasn't only integrity. That was money, information, access, and getting into the right room. You could be the most honorable person in the world, but if nobody will fund you, distribute you, lease you a building, or even explain how the deal works, integrity alone does not open every door.
Because I can't change the past, but I can change the future. And I think you got to get used to us being successful. And I think a lot of us, we block our own blessings because we don't think that we could do it because we're looking at a color. So, I mean, Muhammad Ali was a guy that, and I loved, like, his story because he didn't care about that. He just wanted to be around good people, but he did represent for the culture. Right. And I want more African-American owned tennis shoe companies. I don't want this just to be me. I want so many different product brands owned by us, but making it for everybody. Because think about it, when other cultures make products, they don't make it for them, they make it for everybody. And so I want that mindset about people. If I could change that, that's the way we're going to bridge the wealth gap.
This part of Master P's message makes sense. We should normalize black success. We should teach ownership, financial literacy, and how to build something that outlives us. And Muhammad Ali stood for black people while selling his greatness to the entire world. A black-owned business don't have to sell only to black customers. Own the company, represent your community, and sell the product to everybody. I agree with that. But Master P wants blackness front and center when he talks about ownership. Then he wants race removed when it's time to explain why ownership has been so difficult to build. He want to eat off both sides of the plate. You can't celebrate being a black entrepreneur while acting like black history has nothing to do with the conditions black entrepreneurs are facing. Slavery was not followed by a fair starting line. It was followed by Jim Crow, redlining, exclusion from loans, discrimination, and programs designed to disrupt black progress. That history don't mean we sit down and be quiet. It explains why ownership matters and why different groups didn't start with the same property, the same capital, or the same access. You can face forward without ripping the rearview mirror off the car.
What's been the biggest negative surprise of it all? The biggest negative surprise of the stardom?
Our people can't work together. Think about when I go down Rodale Drive and see all these stores. They're owned by all the same kind of looking people. None of them fighting. None of them caring about what each other have or got. And I love that. I want to see that for our culture and our people. That's why I fight to educate our culture and our people. Because we got to get on that page. Like, if we get on that page, we're going to be dangerous because we spend $1 trillion a year.
2.1 trillion.
2.1 trillion. Think about it. And we don't own nothing. And we don't own nothing.
And this is what Master P lost me. Black people can't work together. Black people don't own shoe companies. Black people need more integrity. Black people need to stop harping on slavery. How many blanket statements are we gonna make about millions of black people before we realize that it's not true. Black people work together every day. Black families run businesses. Black creators collaborate. Black entrepreneurs share information and build companies together. Do we also have jealousy, bad business, and people who refuse to cooperate? Of course. So does every other group on earth. But other groups are not constantly asked to describe their worst behavior as a racial defect. And while black people are always being told to get over what happened to us, other communities build museums, create holidays, preserve records, and make sure the world never forgets what happened to their ancestors. That is called honoring history. But when black people remember slavery and then connect it to Jim Crow, redlining, and everything that followed, suddenly we have a negative mindset.
The ones in the back that can't hear, stop making them false narratives. I love my people. When you talk about slavery, our ancestors been through so much and we're not going to forget it. You know what I'm saying? But what I want to tell y'all is, even though we're going to always be aware of it, but we have to do something to bridge the wealth gap. That's what I'm saying. We can't change the past, but we can change the future. And we're going to constantly fight and educate our people. But I want to let y'all know, Apple is making $32 million an hour. How do we get a piece of that? Because we need to be able to bridge the wealth gap. That's the only thing I'm saying. And that's the only way it's going to happen. We got to educate our people, to educate our culture.
Remembering slavery doesn't make me a slave. Knowing what happened to my ancestors doesn't stop me from building. It helps me understand why ownership is so important. And Master P's own success shows that black people can work together. No Limit wasn't built by one man. It took artists, producers, designers, lawyers, distributors, family members, employees, and a black audience that supported that tank. So teach the blueprint. Celebrate the success. Show young people how to do it. Don't talk down to us. Don't use your success as proof that everybody who didn't reach your level must lack integrity or the ability to work together. Master P is right that we do need more ownership. He is right that we need more financial education. But moving forward does not require us to forget what put us behind or ignoring the young black entrepreneurs that are doing their thing today. That is how you change the mindset without disrespecting the memory. But hey, that's just my opinion. What's yours? Like, comment, subscribe. Establish Rich. I'll be back with another one. Peace.